Here's a common belief you've probably heard 100 times. Wide leg pants are only for tall women. That the second you slip them on, if you're anything under 5'4", you'll vanish inside a wall of fabric like a kid playing dress-up in her mother's closet. Just plain wrong. Because the truth is that most women can wear wide leg pants beautifully, and the reason so many give up on them has nothing to do with the pants themselves and everything to do with a set of rules nobody bothered to explain. Rules that change completely depending on your height. What flatters a woman at 5'2" would swallow her whole, and what looks effortless on a woman at 5'10" would look, frankly, a little sad on someone shorter. And I'm here to tell you that belief is wrong. Not partly wrong. Not well, it depends wrong. Same pants. Opposite outcomes. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly which side of that line you fall on. Welcome to the Style Dossier, where we don't hand you a pile of vague advice and wish you luck. We open the file, we lay the evidence out on the table, and we solve the case piece by piece. If you love the idea of style that actually makes sense for your real body and your real life, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, it keeps you in the loop, and honestly, this is the kind of channel you'll wish you'd found years ago. Now let's get into it. Let's start with a number, because a number cuts through the noise. The average height for an adult woman in the United States is right around 5'3½". That's from the CDC's anthropometric data, cited by the Cleveland Clinic, and it matters more than you'd think. Here's why. Almost every wide-leg pant you see photographed online, every flowing, gorgeous, drapey image that made you want to buy them in the first place, was shot on a model who is 5'9", 5'10", sometimes taller. So when the pants arrive and they don't hang the way they did in the picture, you blame yourself. You blame your body. You shouldn't. You were just never shown the version of the rules written for the height most of us actually are. The advice that works on a runway frame often needs to be flipped, not followed, for the rest of us. And that's the whole point of today. The first thing on our table is the pant itself, and this is where the shorter woman gets tripped up more than anywhere else. The problem piece is what I'd call the tube. A wide leg pant that is exactly the same width from the very top of the thigh all the way down to the hem. On a tall woman, that shape is a gift. It reads as long, clean, deliberate. On a woman under 5'4", it reads as a curtain. There's no taper, no shaping, nothing to tell the eye where your leg actually is inside all that fabric. You disappear. The swap is simple once you see it. Reach for a pant that stays relatively slim through the upper thigh and then begins to flare, ideally somewhere around the knee. Style expert Maddie James makes this point directly, recommending that petite wearers choose pants that are narrow in the leg and start their flare lower down. That narrow section up top does something quietly powerful. It keeps a visible line where your leg is, so the widening reads as intentional drama rather than accidental volume. The result is a pant that gives you all the flow, and none of the drowning. That's the whole trick, and almost nobody tells you. Now flip the coin. If you're over 5'8", that same tube shape, the one that swallows a shorter woman, is exactly what you want. This is the reversal that surprises people. Tall women can and should embrace a wide leg that stays consistent in width from top to bottom. Maddie James specifically points to this for taller or curvier frames, the pant that's the same width top to bottom. Why does it work up here and fail down there? Proportion. A taller frame has the vertical real estate to carry uninterrupted width without looking chopped or overwhelmed. That long, columnar line of fabric doesn't shorten a tall woman. It amplifies her. It looks like it was cut for a fashion editorial, because in a sense, it was. So if you've spent years reaching for the narrow then flare cut because someone told you it was safe, and you're tall, you may have been shrinking your best asset this entire time. Let the fabric run wide. Let it be a little dramatic. You've earned it. Here's where it gets more interesting. And this is a detail I think even careful dressers miss. The hem. The bottom edge of the pant is doing more work than almost anything else in the outfit, and the correct hem length is not the same for every height. For a shorter woman, the enemy is the crop. Anything that stops at the ankle, mid-calf, that awkward zone where the pant just quits, it slices your leg line in half and steals inches you can't afford to lose. What you want instead is a hem that grazes the floor, that kisses the top of your shoe and goes no further. Maddie James puts real numbers on this, suggesting a hem no longer than 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch above the floor, and no shorter than about 3 inches above it. That narrow window is your sweet spot. Below it you're puddling, above it you're cutting yourself off at the knees, figuratively speaking. And there's a bonus move here. Match your shoe color to your pant color. When the shoe and the hem blend together, the eye reads one continuous line from waist to toe, and suddenly you look taller without a single inch changing. It's an old trick and it works every single time. For the tall woman, the hem story is different, and honestly, it's more of a hunt than a rule. Your challenge isn't avoiding the crop. Your challenge is finding a pant long enough to reach the floor in the first place. Standard inseams are cut for that 5'3.5" average, remember, which means the full-length pant you order online arrives looking like it shrank in the wash. What you're looking for are tall or long inseams, and the guidance here lands somewhere in the 34 to 37-inch range, depending on whether you're wearing flats or a heel. That extra length is the whole ballgame for you. Get it right and the pant grazes the floor exactly as intended, that gorgeous floor-sweeping line that made you want them to begin with. Get it wrong, settle for whatever the standard rack offers, and you end up in an accidental crop that fights your height instead of celebrating it. So don't compromise on length. It's the one thing that undoes an otherwise perfect tall silhouette. Let me pause here for a second, because I want to hear from you. If you're watching this, do me a favor and drop your height in the comments, along with one wide leg pant you either love or gave up on. I read these, and I'm genuinely curious how the room breaks down, because I have a hunch most of you are closer to that 5'3" average than to the models you've been comparing yourselves to for years. Tell me where you land. It helps me make these better, and it helps the next woman scrolling through find someone her exact height to relate to. All right, back to the file, because the next piece is the one that ties everything together. Now we get to the waist, and this is the great equalizer. It matters for every height, but it matters most for the shorter woman, so let's plant it firmly here. The rise of your pant, meaning where the waistband sits, decides how long your legs look before you've even chosen a top. Low or mid-rise starts your leg line somewhere down near your hips, which visually chops you in half. High-rise starts that line up at your natural waist, and every inch of fabric below it now reads as leg. For a petite frame, high-rise isn't a preference. I'd call it non-negotiable. It's the single most powerful tool you have for stretching your proportions upward. And it does a second job too. It gives the wide leg something to anchor to, so all that lovely volume below hangs from a defined point instead of ballooning out from nowhere. Tall women get more freedom here. Both mid and high-rise can work beautifully depending on how long your torso runs, so you get to choose based on balance rather than necessity. But for everyone under that 5'4" mark, take the high-rise every time. And now the top, which is where I see the most beautiful pants ruined by the most ordinary mistake. The problem is the long, loose top worn over a wide leg pant. Volume on volume. A drapey blouse falling over drapey trousers with no break in between. So the whole outfit becomes one shapeless column and your figure just evaporates inside it. The swap is almost embarrassingly simple. Break the line at the waist. Tuck the top in, even just the front. Choose something fitted, or cropped, or structured enough to show where your body actually is. This isn't just my opinion, it's a proportion principle designers lean on constantly, sometimes called the rule of thirds. The idea is that an outfit looks more balanced and more interesting when it's divided unevenly, roughly 1/3 to 2/3, rather than cut straight down the middle at 50-50. A cropped or tucked top over a high-waisted wide-leg pant creates exactly that division, a short top, a long sweep of leg. It's the classic application, and it works on everyone, but it rescues the petite woman most of all. Tall women have a little more latitude to wear a longer top untucked, because they've got the height to spend on it. Shorter women don't have inches to give away. So tuck it, define it, and watch the whole outfit snap into focus. Here's a piece most style videos skip entirely, and it's the reason two women in the identical pants can get completely different results. Fabric. The way a pant hangs isn't a matter of luck or opinion, it's a measurable physical property called drape, and it's more scientific than you'd guess. Researchers have actually modeled how fabric folds under its own weight, and one study using shape descriptors like circularity and wavelength predicted how people would rank a garment's drape with a correlation of 0.97. That's a startlingly precise number for something we usually just call flowy. What it tells us is that weight, stiffness, and how a fabric bends all combine to decide whether your pants pour like liquid or stand away from the body in structured folds. So here's how you use that. If you're tall, lean into heavier structured fabrics, crepe, a wool blend, a substantial cotton. They drape cleanly down a long frame and give that expensive architectural look. If you're shorter, be a little careful with the stiffest, heaviest fabrics, because they can add bulk you don't need. A cloth that widens gradually and moves with a bit more fluidity keeps you from looking boxed in. Same pattern, different fabric, and the whole silhouette changes. So let's close the file and lay it all out, because I want you walking away with the full picture, not fragments. The one thing to remember above everything is that there is no single universal rule for wide-leg pants. There's a rule for under 5'4", and there's nearly the opposite rule for over 5'8". And pretending otherwise is exactly why so many women gave up on a style that could look wonderful on them. If you're on the shorter side, your formula is this. A pant that's slimmer up top and flares from the knee, a high rise without exception, a hem that grazes the floor and never crops at the ankle, a shoe matched to the pant to run the line unbroken, and a top that's tucked or fitted to break the waist. If you're tall, you flip nearly all of it. A full consistent width top to bottom that celebrates your height. A long inseam in that 34 to 37 inch range so the hem actually reaches where it should. The freedom to choose your rise by torso length, and heavier structured fabric that drapes like it was made for you. Two completely different playbooks, and now you know precisely which one is yours. That belief we started with, the one that says wide-leg pants aren't for you, isn't just wrong. It was never really about the pants. It was about advice written for a body that probably isn't yours, handed to you as if it were universal. Now you've got the version that fits. You know your height, you know your rules, and the next time you catch that flowing silhouette in a shop window, you won't think that's not for me. You'll know exactly which pant to reach for, exactly how to hem it, exactly what to wear on top, and you'll walk out looking like the picture finally matched the person. That's the whole point of opening the file in the first place. If this cleared something up for you, subscribe and stay with us, because there's a lot more of your closet we haven't solved yet. Until the next one, this is the Style Dossier.